I've always argued that traditional hunting makes you a better hunting. You've got to plan everything out for it to be, point blank range.
So I just heard the longbow puts a little more hair on your chest.
It does. I mean, you got to be a little more manly to shoot.
I'll admit, it's harder to shoot than a recurve. It is, but
awesome. It was hard to sell a recurve. The compound had come into play. Black Widow was struggling.
What is it exactly that makes a good recurve bow? Like, what are the challenges of making one?
I'd say challenges would be more or less just working with the material used, especially a lot of the woods, because every wood's different.
But if I took it on an elk hunt, I guarantee you that thing would end up as firewood by the end of the day.
There's every person here has a process in the bow build. So like you order a bow, like you're gonna know every single person here had some part in building that bow.
I like to hunt from the ground. I've been known to get my barrel and drag it up a little closer. I like it. It's just more intense. It's more fun,
Still to this day is the only non-typical bull that I have ever seen. To where one side it was just basically just one big main beam and a whale tail, and then the other side was all deformed and messed up.
Welcome to the Hunter's Advantage podcast, where a group of budget-minded hunters scour the woods for whitetail bucks and whatever other big game is in season. Tune in each week to hear the hilarious public and private land hunting stories and mistake-filled lessons learned. We believe that every hunt brings us closer to God and that we exist to share the good news. And now, your hosts, Christian Babcock and Jake Gaylord.
Listen, guys, we wouldn't be able to do the podcast if it wasn't for you all. So we just want to say that you guys are greatly appreciated, and thank you for following along each week.
And speaking of support, we are partnered with Out on a Limb Manufacturing, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, Matt and Chase are great, down-to-earth guys, and they make some of the best saddle hunting products out there. Whether you're looking for a set of climbing sticks or a mobile, lightweight, hang-on tree stand, or maybe you're even a one-sticker.
You mean tree Pilates?
Yes, tree Pilates. If you've been to the grocery store or the gas station lately, you know that Uncle Joe is doing his absolute worst to take all your money. That's why we need hunting gear that lasts year after year. And trust me, I've been rocking the same Out on a Limb Shakar climbing sticks for 4 years and the Ridge Runner 2.0 saddle hunting platform for a few years as well. This gear is built to last.
We can confidently say that Out on a Limb is the best bang for your buck.
And it's the best gear if you want to deflate a big old buck.
Ooh. Make sure you use code HNTA15 at outonilimb.com for 15% off anything on their website.
So if you can show them the same support that you guys show us, please go to outonilimb.com and use code HNTA15 for 15% off at checkout. Now let's get back to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. Today we're joined by Miles and Toby of Black Widow Bows. Thanks for letting us intrude your workspace for a few hours here. It's been really fun so far.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good. Glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, of course.
So just kind of set the scene a little bit for people who might not know. Black Widow's been in business since 1957. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Just on a 10,000 foot level, 60 years of being in business and being one of the leading traditional bow brands basically in the world. Before we dive too deep into that, I kind of want to know about you guys' backgrounds. Like, how'd you cut your teeth in hunting? How'd you grow up and kind of evolve into this space?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, grew up in the country. I mean, we grew up hunting and stuff. So it's always been a passion, hunting, fishing, everything like that in the outdoors. After high school, I was actually just hauling hay through the summer, and a job opening came up for here at Black Widow, and some of the guys that were working there were guys I grew up with. Well, one of them's our partner now, John Clayman, and his two older brothers also work there. Said, hey, there's a job opening come up. You want to
heck, last year I was in a big kick of how far can I shoot with my bow? Just tinkering with it. I was like, okay, I wonder, can I reach 90? Can I reach triple digits? Obviously, we wouldn't take an animal that far unless it was really big. But that's beside the point. That's kind of where I see, like, I guess the younger generation kind of not taking an interest in it until they're wanting to take that next step. Because, me personally, if I still have 2 buck tags, it would be my luck if I try to take my recurve out, even if I practice a lot, to go hunt, my hit list or buck. And then my luck, it would come out at like 35 yards. And I'm like, that's easily 20 yards out of my range. So I could see myself taking one like end of season and hopefully after I filled my buck tags and then just try to go on doe patrol basically.
Yeah. It's one of those deals, like once you get the acceptance of it, like it's a different style of hunting and there's going to be pros and cons on it. Like I've definitely had elk that with a compound would have been easy and but I'm trying to close, 10 more yards, the recurve, and it ends up costing me the shot completely. I mean, that's definitely happened. It's going to continue to happen, but it's part of the gratification, when it all comes together. You're like, man, I just did this with a stick and string,
It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy.
Fun.
And it's a step I'd want to take, but I'm just not there yet. I haven't mastered it yet, so.
Yeah, haven't mastered the compound. Yeah, it's interesting now with like compound bows, crossbows, all the stuff that's out there. It's like bow hunting, at least it used to be like a game of how close you can get, right? Like it's the intimacy of bow hunting that makes it so exciting. So it's like the further that you stretch it out, the less intimate you are with the animal. And it's like you're at 75 yards, that's like rifle range, right? And I shot my first buck with a recurve this year at 15 yards through a hole in a cedar about that big, and that's like you take the cap off that bottle, it's something you can't put back on. Now I want to like go on my lease and shoot one like on the ground with a decoy and all that crap. It's just, there's nothing more primitive or fun than with a recurve. It's so fun.
It is. And we hear guys, like I said, have been very, very successful with the compound, killed a lot of big deer, and they want to take that next step. And I've even heard them say they killed a doe with it. And it was as exciting as some of the big bucks, they've killed with either a gun or a compound. So it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah. There's a pretty popular recurve only hunt in Oklahoma. I'm sure you guys know exactly the one I'm talking about.
I've been on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any luck on that hunt?
I shot one, couldn't find it.
pretty good one too.
It was a nice one.
Yeah.
It seems like a common thing around there.
It is. Yeah. Well, that's where I shot my buck last year, and I got a rock, and I went up, and you'll see these guys that come back, maybe not year after year, but they come back every few years when they can draw a tag.
Right.
And there was one stack of rocks that was like 7 deep, and you could tell the guy had been stacking them like by his own rocks, and I was like, I want to meet that guy. He shot 7 Pope and Youngs in here with this trad. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the dude you hop in the truck with.
Yes.
Yeah. If he needs a partner, you're getting in his truck. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So I'm interested, obviously you weren't here for the origins of Black Widow, but you've been here a long time. What do you know about kind of the origins of the company, kind of how it started way back when?
Well, the Wilson boys, a lot of people call them the Wilson brothers. There was 3 brothers and a cousin, I believe, that just were doing a lot of shooting. They did a lot of competitive shooting, and then they got to building their own bows. And they lived just north of here in Springfield. They got to building their own bows just in a very small little building that didn't amount to anything. But lo and behold, they started building some really nice bows and selling them, and before they knew it, they were selling them worldwide. I guess as they got older, they sold the business to a guy that was working with them, and it got moved out to another town just west of here, and then the compound came into play. Mm-hmm. So sales for the recurves really tanked, back in that day, and we're probably talking, I guess, late 70s.
Yeah, late 70s.
So it was hard to sell a recurve. The compound had come into play, and so Black Widow was struggling. And Ken Beck, the guy that I started to work for, he bought the business in the early 80s, 81, 82, somewhere in 82, I think.
Yeah, 82 is when he officially took it over.
And came out with a new model, and lo and behold, he was just very successful with it, and Recurve started making a comeback, and Black Widow become a very, very big name in the traditional world, and luckily has continued to do that, through Ken Beck work and all the way down to, this guy and the guys we've got out in the shop today, have a heart and a passion for Black Widow, and so hopefully Black Widow will be here another 60, 70 years,
right.
I'm sure it will be. I mean, just you taking us around the shop and seeing just how much actually goes into making those bows, it's kind of it flabbergasted me, for lack of better words. But so what separates Black Widow bows from like other premium brands?
We have a lot of people tell our customer service. I mean, I'll just say is, in my opinion, second to none from what we hear. We literally go above and beyond. Even bows that we know have been abused or not handled right. If it's we've replaced a lot of bows we didn't have to or shouldn't have.
Got stolen.
But Black Widow's it's a great bow, and we're pretty humble, to be honest with you. There's a ton of very, very beautiful bows, great performing bows. There's guys from doing it by themselves in their garage to companies, it's got people like we do working for them, but building just incredible bows. So we're very fortunate and humbled to have the following that Black Widow does, and we have a good following, and part of that's that we've been here since 1957. I haven't, but Black Widow has, and they know that expect that we'll be here another 50, 60 years or longer. So that, I think that's a big factor. We try to be. We go to shoots and stuff. I mean, we know people by name, and it's more like family rather than a customer and stuff. So we just keep all that in mind. Try to install it in these guys as they go to shows and stuff. So it's been successful.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we pulled up and we walked in, I mean, it felt really homey, like a family owned, it seemed like a family is what it was. I mean, as people walked by, we noticed Miles. He was, saying, "Oh, hey, Larry, hey, Ken," whoever it was, and knowing your employees by name and all that stuff like that. That means a lot, to people, especially like a lot of our audience is like blue collar people. So like, for everybody to feel included and feel like everybody in the company is working towards one goal, like that, it's a special thing.
Sure.
And you guys seem like you have it here. When did you come into this? Obviously, it's a family thing, right? So when did you start working here?
So just like I said, Dad's been here since before I was born. So always grew up around Black Widow, grew up around recurves and everything, and so like it was always through the summers. I was coming in here through the summers helping out.
Voluntary or involuntary?
A little bit of both. Yeah, a little bit of both. Depends who you ask.
Yeah.
But did that. I think there was 1 year I went and helped a really good friend of ours. I helped him frame houses for a summer and stuff. And then after that, I was just always in here. And then after high school, I just came in right in after I graduated and kind of been here ever since. So yeah. It is a family here, everywhere, working here. I mean, Bailey out there, we went to the same high school together. He's lived across a couple hollers, our entire lives. We grew up shooting with each other. We went to a very, very small school, and he graduated a year ahead of me. So, I mean, we've known each other our whole lives. And just like how Dad said, he went to school with John Clayman, and now they're partners here and everything. I mean, everyone's local from around here. Everyone, it is a family here. Like, in my opinion, there's no funner place to work than here. We're always doing stuff together and laughing and stuff.
That, I understand.
Yeah. I got a script right here I'm supposed to read.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was very apparent walking through the shop that it's like a labor of love, and there's many different puzzle pieces that it takes to put it together. I I don't think if you gave me 1,000 hours, I could put one of those bows together with an instruction manual. All that, you take something that's looks pretty rough and it becomes something beautiful. It's a lot of different pieces that go into that, but you can tell when somebody enjoys what they do. Right.
Oh, definitely.
And when you walk through and just the level of detail that you gave on the first tour, I'm like, I don't know that much about anything.
Especially the tips, dude. Like, that would be my luck. I do all this stuff, and then when you start whittling on the tips,
break one.
snaps it. You're like, dang it.
yeah, it comes through, and it comes through in the craftsmanship of the bows. Like walking through the showroom, it's pretty incredible. Those are like the Ferraris of traditional equipment. And I've been around bow competition shoots and 3D shoots and people that love to bow hunt my whole life, and we got people to pull out a $3,000 compound and everybody oohs and gawks, and then they're like, oh, I got something really cool here, and they pull a Black Widow out, and everyone drops that and walks over to check out that bow. So it's very apparent it comes through here. We walked through and we got to see kind of how they're made. In y'all's mind, there has to be some things that you've changed over the years, that you've been able to improve quality or make things easier. Like what is it exactly that makes a good recurve bow? Like what are the challenges of making one, and what makes one good?
I'd say challenges would be more or less just working with the material used, especially a lot of the woods, because every wood's different. Some woods are a lot easier to work on, than others. Some can be a pain in the butt, and some are, super easy to work with. So I'd say that'd be the most challenging part, is just the wood itself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got woods from all over the world, all sorts of exotic woods and everything. So I'd say that'd be the most challenging.
Yeah, I'd say for sure. Not any two pieces of wood are the same. You could take wood out of the same board and glue 10 bows out of it. There may be 10 pounds of difference between the heaviest and lightest. So it's an educated get. We keep track of every bow that we've ever built in here. We know the serial number, and we know what weight it came out, and we keep all of that as record. So when someone comes in and orders a bow at a certain weight, we go back through those records and pull out, hey, we've built 100 bows with this much material, and they've averaged this weight that he's wanting. So it gives us an educated guess. But we don't always hit it. Literally every week we have bows that come in light or heavy, and sometimes you have no idea why. And you just turn around and you put the same material back in, and it might hit the next time. So, but that's what our demo bows that you saw up front, a lot of those are bows that just, this guy might have ordered 50 pounds. It comes in 47. We'll just finish it out, put it up front. Now we've got bows to take to shows or to sell, either one. So it works good. But yeah, I mean, we've been very lucky. Another challenge, keeping a good crew, and we've been very fortunate over the years to we've had a good crew. We've got 5-6 guys here that's 30 years plus, and you just don't find that everywhere. And so now we're coming in some of these younger crowds with Miles and Bailey as our young guns coming in. Well, everyone else out there that's younger than them are my other son Bo and Larry that you met out there. They're just summertime help for school, and they're heading back to school come August. So it is challenging to find the right person
also that
to
you
work
trust
here.
with that process too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has to be right. There's no cutting corners and things like that. So
yeah,
you've got to be very meticulous about what you do here, just because it's an art. What you're building is an art, and you got to care about that art and stuff. Like, we're not trying to produce bows on a quantity but quality, right? So every person here has a process in the bow built. So like, you order a bow, like, you're gonna know every single person here had some part in building that bow, and we've had people here call, they think, man, like, I'll take an order and I build that bow, and he takes an order and he builds that bow, and it's not like that. Everyone's got a process of building that bow, and like, so the more like you care about it and stuff, you're the better your work's gonna be, the better the bow's gonna look and stuff, and that's what we really care about. We want, if you come in here and you've wanted a black widow your whole life and you're buying one, we want to make sure you get that, and it's, everything you've dreamt of and more,
Yeah. Is there anybody in here that doesn't bow hunt?
Yeah, John,
Yeah.
our
He'd be the
partner,
only
John.
one.
He doesn't bow hunt. No, he started work for Ken, just like Miles did, during school, working through the summers and stuff like that, and then started right in as soon as he graduated high school. But now he's just not a bow hunter, which works really good because
he's a smart one out of the
he
group.
can stay here and work during bow season while I take off a week or
right.
so.
Yeah, you got to have a guy like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's strategic.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So with like traditional style hunting being a very small niche or niche, however, we were talking about this. Is it niche or niche?
We're from Oklahoma, dude. 48th
I don't
in
know.
education.
Yeah,
I'm not
48th.
sure.
It shows. It shines through. With it being a very small subset of the hunting community, what's the draw to make premium bows versus just the budget, I guess, budget-minded bows?
I don't know. I mean, there's a place for both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that want to get their feet wet in traditional archery, and it might be tough to turn loose of $1,500, not knowing. You don't know what if it's going to be too much poundage, not enough, what grip. There's a lot that goes into it. Is this bow too short? Is it too long? Well, if you just buy one, you may hit it. You may not. You may get this bow, and a month later, well, I wish I'd have got something different. Well, some of the other bows that are less expensive, lets a guy get his feet wet. Hey, I really like this, and I now want a black widow. So there's definitely a place for all of them for sure. And then some guys just want looks. We can build it pretty. We can build it plain, or we can really make it look nice.
There's a lot of different ways, you can dress it up, as far as, your color scheme and your overlays, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's all depending on what you want. It's great to start somewhere and figure out, if you like the long bow route or the recurve route better, if you like a shorter bow or longer bow, anything like that. Because, I mean, they're not like adjustable like a compound, where you can back off the weight a little bit, and stuff like that, I mean, you'd have to swap out limbs, so now you're even more money into it, if you wanted different limbs or just a whole different bow, depending if it's a one piece or a takedown. So it is nice to start somewhere and figure out, what you want, what you like, which is why we also do the demo bows, like all those bows up front, like if you call and you're like, hey, wanting to kind of, get my feet wet a little bit, but not wanting to jump in completely and I don't know where to start, we'll ask them a few questions like, okay, well, what are you going to be hunting? Or are you out west hunting big game all the time? Or are you east, mainly whitetail and turkey? What are you pulling with your compound, as far as weight and draw length, what's your style? What are you after? And then, we'll kind of dumb it down to, all right, I think you're, somewhere around this range. And if we got something up front, we'll send them a bow that we think would work for them, let them try it out, see how the grip works for them, the weight and the length, see what they like, and got options there to, if they get it and it working perfect, they can keep it, or send it back and say, hey, it's not for me. Maybe we'll try a different bow, or maybe say, hey, maybe just traditional is not for me at all. Maybe black widow is not for me at all. And that's perfectly okay. Send the bow back and go our separate ways, or maybe like, hey, this works for me, but I want to do something different in the woods, different in the overlays, and then we know what to build you from there. What works for you, what grip and stuff. So
if you guys are anything like us, you love being in the deer woods and chasing big bucks. But there's another part of you that has that itch to chase other big game species.
If you've ever dreamed of chasing black bear, mule deer, or moose, Alberta, Canada is the land of opportunity for these adventure-style hunts.
Each year, hundreds of first-time visiting hunters from around the world come to Alberta for the options, quality, and accessibility that the land offers.
With over 1,800 Boone and Crockett entries and endless possibilities of taking multiple species on a single trip, Alberta is truly a paradise for a big game hunter. This is why we partnered up with the Alberta Professional Outfitters Society. To check it out, go to apos.ab.ca and click Find an Outfitter. From there, you can browse all the different big game species and hunting styles that fit with what you want out of the hunt.
Or you can send a free hunt inquiry through the follow the lead tool, and the outfitters who have what you are looking for will reach out to you directly.
So make sure to check out apos.ab.ca to learn all about hunting in Alberta and get connected to the right outfitter for you.
What's the pros and cons of a longbow versus a recurve?
Depends who you ask. I mean, Dad here, he's primarily a longbow shooter, and I shoot more recurves than anything. A recurve is going to tend to perform better, with the limb design. It's going to be, a little bit faster and everything. What I like about the longbow though is pretty much bomb proof. You don't have to worry about twisting a limb or anything. I mean, he uses his as a trekking pole when we're out west.
Run out of arrows, you still got a spear.
Yeah, I mean they're just bomb proof, and there's no hardware to them. I mean, like the ones out there you literally pull apart and throw in your bag and go. So I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but I wouldn't say one is completely better than the other. It just depends on what you need it for.
Yeah, it's just whatever you like. To be honest with you, I like shooting that longbow. It just feels good. I just like it. I don't know that I shoot it any better than I would a recurve, but I like the lightweight aspect of it. Yeah. I mean, it's like carrying nothing. And there's pros and cons to that. Some guys like a really, really heavy bow.
It depends how far they're carrying it.
Yeah, we now offer.
That's true.
We now offer G10, which is a really heavy mass weight material. And a lot of guys, they like that. They like that mass weight, and it is very, very stable in the hand to shoot. But in the other hand, a lot of guys just like a lightweight, toss around kind of bow. So we try to cover all the bases with them.
Yeah.
So I just heard the longbow puts a little more hair on your chest.
It does. I mean, you got to be a little more manly to shoot.
I'll admit it's harder to shoot than a recurve. It is, but
awesome.
Yeah, there's nothing more primitive though. You go in that show alone, the guy's got a longbow. You got some respect for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is like the arrow craze? I mean, I'm sure you guys pay attention to the hunting space quite a bit, and like there's a big argument about arrow setups, right? Heavy versus light, whatever that setup consists of. Is there something special about the arrow? Does it mean as much as it does for a compound?
Yeah, if not more, because like you're of course you don't have near as much energy as you do as a compound. Compounds pushing like 300 foot per second. And you're sub 200 or with a recurve, and so your arrow weight is actually very important. So like we always recommend, was it 9 to 13 grains, 9 to 12?
Well, 9 to 11 is our recommendation.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's per pound of bow. So like my bow up front is 55 pounds. So if I wanted 10 grains per pound, I'm gonna need a 550 grain arrow. And I think my arrow build come out to be like 546 or something like that. Okay. And that's just a ballpark. And the reason for that is if you got a super lightweight arrow, like you're gonna pick up a lot of speed, but it doesn't hit as hard. There's not as much behind it, as far as penetration. But you go too heavy, then it's the same thing. You're losing a lot of speed. You're getting a lot more arch, and trajectory. Now it is going to be a lot quieter and stuff. So I mean, there's pros and cons. We know people that like to stay light because they gap shoot or something. They want that flat trajectory.
Makes sense.
And then we know other guys that shoot super heavy because they want it to hit like a truck and be super quiet. I always like trying to find that 10 grain per pound is what I always try to tune for.
Like a happy medium, basically.
Yeah. I've had really good luck with that. Around there with really any weight. So my whitetail setup, same way. My favorite bow to whitetail hunt with is 44 pounds, and I think my arrows are like 450 something. So right in there, and I get pass-throughs with that, just perfect.
I gotcha.
So how does someone can you fit a recurve to someone, or can you explain how the draw weight or the draw length works on all of them? Are they all the same, or you overdraw it gets more poundage as it cranks up? How does that process work? Because that's something I didn't understand when I got a recurve.
Yeah, so if you look on the bow, we'll write on the limb, what the pound weight is at that draw. So the average is roughly 28 inches. So all those demos up there, you're going to see, it's going to be like 47 at 28. So that's 47 pounds at 28 inches. Now, you draw less than 28 inches, you're not getting that 47, It's roughly about 2.5 pounds per inch of draw. So we'll see, guys will see a used bow that's, marked at like 26, and they'll call like, hey, what is this going to be, at like 28, So it does change with that, and there's no let off, like with a compound, you don't go from like 70 to 6,
Yeah.
It's just going to get heavier as you go. So as far as like fitting one, usually when someone comes in, or just like the demo thing, when you're trying to fit someone, you're going to ask them, okay, what weight are you used to pulling? Like honestly, if you're shooting a 60, 70, 80 pound compound, I do not recommend trying to shoot that same weight in a traditional bow. Now, I'm not saying you can't. There's some people who definitely can, but especially starting off, definitely go lighter. My bow up front is 55. I would take that to hunt anything. I took 50 pounds elk hunting the past 3 years, and have more than enough confidence with that to get it done. But like fitting people, I'm going to see like their draw length. A guy with a longer draw, you're going to want a longer bow as far as like it's going to be super comfortable, not have that tighter string angle on your fingers and everything. So we'll figure out the length of bow is usually where you'll start, and then weight. What you're after. If you're just going to be hunting whitetails in southern Missouri, 60, 70 pounds. It's going to get it done, but it's way overkill. You know? So we'll fit at that, and then go all the way down into grips. We've got some grips now that honestly they're really similar to a compound as far as if guys are used to that or something, or if you've got a grip that you really like, we can even try to duplicate that.
Yeah. I just asked because, like, as someone with me, I shoot a 31.5-inch draw on a compound, which is really far, and I got a 55-pound recurve somebody just gave me, and to try to get it even close to where I was on my compound, I was like, is this 150 pounds? Like, this, I'd get it past 28 and be like, come help me, Lauren. Like, get it all the way back. Because I noticed when I was shooting and critiquing my form, it's like I looked like I was doing this on the bow, just shooting it.
Yeah.
So would you recommend for like a long draw guy like that doesn't want to hold 70 pounds when he's back, like getting a 45-pound bow and then, just drawing it further like to his actual draw length? Is that what you guys recommend?
So, depending on what you're wanting it for, if this is going to be a bow of literally just training to use it, I'd go 35, 40 pounds. Now, if you're wanting to get something that like, hey, I'm going to train myself to use it, and then I want to start hunting, whitetail turkey with it, that mid to lower 40s would be awesome, And you've got to watch, your state. Some states have laws, so you got to watch the bow minimum and stuff. But usually, that lower 40s and mid 40s is going to get you good for whitetail in most states.
Well, that's good for you because you might have a long draw length, but he only pulls back like 45
38 pounds or something like that.
So
Yeah, that'll get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. So you guys obviously you hunt with the longbow, you hunt with the recurve. What have been some of your most favorite experiences you've had hunting with traditional equipment? Because we talk about bow hunting being this pursuit of how close you can get, not how far you can shoot back. So there's got to be some pretty intense moments that you guys can think of over the last decade that you've hunted.
Last year's. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, I was shot an elk too close, actually.
Yeah.
But as far as mine goes, the moose hunt comes to mind. I shot a moose in Alaska at literally 6-8 feet.
No,
and it was one of those deals. He wasn't aggressive at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he never saw me till the last minute. As far as he knew I was just a stump or something sitting there. He was walking right at me and then just veered off at the last minute. But very, very exciting, intense, as he's walking right at me. Other than that, I've shot...
Shot a bear at like 6 steps too.
Yeah, shot bear close. So the elk I killed, that's 11 steps. It's just, I don't know. It's just fun. The closer you can get them, the better for me. And then there are guys that like them out there a little further, depending if they're shooting point on or something like that. But closer the better for me. And I always, even when I go bear hunting, we go up to Maine every year and have a black widow bear hunt up in Maine. And I've been known to, I like to hunt from the ground. I've been known to get my barrel and drag it up a little closer because I like it I like it. It's just more intense. It's more fun, you know. Not not doing it because I'm more effective at 6 steps and 10, but it's just more fun.
Well, that's something I don't think a lot of people, or heck, I'd probably say 99% of people have never experienced. You know, that close, that intimate, and it's like, you know, from a tree, even a deer 6 steps away, it's like that thing could probably kill me if it wanted to. You know, you just get that feeling. So what's going through your mind whenever you're that close to a moose or a bear or something like that?
Well, I mean, more than anything is the closer you are, the less you can get away with. I mean, you have to be so still, so quiet. You can really screw stuff up at 10 yards and closer, you know. When you got one out there at 35 yards, you can get away with a whole lot more movement and things like that. So that's probably as big as anything. You just really have to be cautious of, you know, your movement and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just...
You just got to slow down and think everything through, which is what cost me last year, was shooting that elk too close. But when it comes to, you know, being that close, like I've always argued that traditional hunting makes you a better hunting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've got to plan everything out for it to be, you know, point blank range. You know,
Everything's
to be able to,
magnified.
to be able to close that distance. You know that animal and know how that animal behaves. And you're also thinking, you know, for some game you're thinking of wind and thermals. Other games you're thinking like hard eyesight. You know, so being able to close that distance is, you just got to be able to make, you know, those split-second decisions of what you can and can't get away with too. But.
So sit still and then bring an extra change of undies. I understand.
Oh yeah.
So what's this elk hunt?
So
I kind of want to hear that story.
Yeah. So last year, we were chasing a bull. We had come down, we'd heard him, and I mean, every time we tried to make a move to him, you know, and try to intercept him, he just kept getting, you know, he was always just one step ahead of us, and we finally got it panned out to where it was so thick. And all the scrub oak and all these aspens, we never could actually get eyes on him. But he was bugling, he was answering, and so we just kept trying. He was always one step ahead of him, and finally we broke into a spot to where we could see down, and there was a big opening on this hill, and had a big opening in the scrub oak, and he walked out in it. We finally got eyes on him, and he. You know, to me, I've been 10 years now, and he was by far the biggest bull I'd ever seen, and which may have made it worse for me. I mean, it was like, holy cow, you know, he's a great big old bull, and he starts moving up, and now we're like, okay, now we know exactly where he's going, and so we busted around and went to intercept him, and as we come up, we found a pretty good trail. I mean, it was a real.
It was an old road.
Yeah, it was an old road, and we come up on it, and was he bugled, and he was right there. So, oh crap. So I literally stopped my tracks, knocked an arrow, never moved. Dad, he goes off. So this bull, like, facing, he was just up and to the left. So Dad bails off back and to the right, and he goes just over this hump to where, could you even see my head or just the top of my bow?
About your head.
Yeah, about my head is all he could see. And he just starts raking brush, you know, and calling and everything. And where I was looking up this trail, those 2 other trails came down to like a Y and then came right to me. Well, it sounds like he was on the one right up to the left. Like if he walked down, it was going to be like a 10, 15 yard shot. Like it was going to be perfect, you know, going straight to Dad. And he bugled once more after that, and it sounded like that. So I mean, I'm focused right here. And then all of a sudden he bugles, and he's directly to my left. And I'm like, and I'm a left-handed shooter, and he's directly over here, and I see him, and you know, he's huge, you know, dark horns and just pearly white tips, and I'm like, how the crap did he get over there without me, you know, noticing that? But he did. He Houdini'd himself over there, and had no aggression or whatsoever. He's literally just beat bopping through there, going to see what all the racket was. You know, Dad, I mean, he was on a string to Dad, and I was in the middle of that string, and so he comes walking literally right at me, and all I've got is there's a little scrub oak like just this big around right here, and that is the only thing between me and him. And as he's coming, I'm like, there's no way, like he's literally about to walk and brush against me. Like his antlers were going to hit me. They were already in the branches of the tree I was standing next to. Like he was breaking limbs off already that I was standing under. I'm like, there's no way he's going to walk by me and not see me or smell me or something. And the wind was perfect, and like I said, his ears weren't pinned. He was very calm. He was literally just seeing what was up, He's all by himself, and so my mind was just racing and racing. And I'm like, do I let him try to walk by me? But at the same time, there's no way he's going to without seeing me. So, what do I do? So for some reason, I thought I could draw behind this little bitty scrub oak. And by this point, he's me to this table, behind you. And so I go ahead and draw. And when I draw is when he, he's like, oh, okay, there's something here. And he kind of lifts his head up. And I thought I could, get that frontal shot. And so I turn. And by the time I turn, he's me to you. Mm-hmm. And I turned and shot right there. And it was so close and so fast. I don't know if I hit the shoulder blade or sternum or something. But, you could hear the arrow hit, and then he just turned and burned out of there. And, we didn't know what was going on.
He missed a layup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very easily. I had the perfect opportunity and just got scared and nervous, having one that close for the first time. And I've had bulls within 10 yards before, but never coming
like
through
that.
me, and so
breath.
yeah, now looking back at it, I probably should have just waited it out for as long as I possibly could. But I got too eager, too excited. So we gave it a while, and we found my arrow 20, 25 yards from there. Had about 6 inches of blood on it. I'm guessing I had to have hit the shoulder or something, and because we never found a drop of blood on the ground or anything. But
Always had to be the big ones, huh?
oh yeah, he's by far the nicest.
It was a good bull.
It was a
Sure.
really good bull.
You just see Dad's arrow come over the hill.
I got him.
I was unarmed, or I would.
Yeah, he wasn't even packing a bow. But that was a good trip. What was it? 2 days later, we got on that other bull.
Mm-hmm.
We got on another bull. He's bugling his head off, and it wasn't as thick where he was, so we were able to spot him pretty early, about 150 yards, and he had 6 cows with him, and he was another really nice bull. And there was a big opening, and we're on an old 4-wheeler road, old farm road that had went up through here, and he gets behind this quakey patch, and we bust over there, and as soon as they go out of sight, we take off across the opening, and we get there. We're set up just on the other side of the road, and where they're coming, it was going to be just a perfect, I think it was 12 or 15 yards when I ranged it, broadside shot. I had a giant scrub brush behind me, and because his cows were coming first, I'm like, man, once those cows pass, there's no way they can turn and see me, and the wind was perfect. So as we're looking, Dad, again, he's backs up behind me, he's trying to call them through me, and here they come. And 3 out of 6 of those cows had walked by me. And like I said, they were right there, perfect. Could have shot any one of them, but I knew he was coming. So they walked behind me, and then all of a sudden, I could see him. So he's coming. He got within about 40 yards, and it was working out so perfect. And then you feel that wind hit you in the back of the neck, and that wind swirled, and every ear and nose, went up, and they all took and busted out of there. But it was just moments away from happening, and the wind got us, and it was crazy because it had been so perfect the whole time we were setting up, and then just that one swirl, and it was game over.
That's how many deer or how many animals have you guys taken with the trad setup?
Not just a ton, but I've killed some bear in Maine, killed moose and elk and mountain lion.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a real good mountain lion hunt a few years ago. Of course, some deer.
Definitely missed a lot more than I've taken.
Hey, join the club.
Definitely.
Join the club.
Yeah, that doesn't change
But
it.
we've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to go on some neat hunts and chase a lot of different critters and stuff. So,
How do you guys choose to aim? Do you try to look down the arrow, or do you instinctual? How do you guys tend to do it?
I'm more an instinctive shooter.
Really?
Still, now the point on or gap shooting is becoming very popular, and is very effective. I've that year I killed that moose, which wasn't a big moose, but I had a a 60-inch moose at 40 yards for more than a minute, for a long time, just in the wide open. If I would have known my point on and stuff like that, it's definitely a makeable shot. But I didn't, and I didn't take the shot. So, it's more personal preference. It's just
You got to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for whitetail hunting, I just love the instinct. You just pull up and shoot. But going out west, and if you think where there could be some longer shots stretched out a little bit, it's a pretty good idea to know that point on.
Yeah, I will always find my point on, and then usually anything sub of my point on, I kind of just instinctive shoot.
I get you.
I might find a gap or two over it. I really like the whole philosophy of pick your spot. You're picking the exact hair you want to hit, and I get to the point for me when I'm trying to find gaps. You're trying to focus on where your arrow is at compared to where you want to hit. So now you're looking at 2 spots instead of 1. So I kind of struggle with that. But like Bailey, him and his wife, they both gap shoot, and they're excellent shooters. Like, I hate shooting with them. I feel horrible.
Explain a little bit of what gap shooting is exactly.
So gap shooting would be like you find your point on, and so like you find your point on. Let's just just to make it easy.
And your point on is the point of your arrow.
Yeah.
Right.
So the point of your arrow and where it hits at a certain range, and it could be 31, 32, 37, 23.
Like when I put the point of that arrow on it, it hits there at this yardage.
Yes. Yeah. So say like just to make it easy, say 30 yards is your point on. So you're holding that point onto the dot at 30 yards, and it's going to hit that dot, or at least on the the level of that dot. So finding a gap would be like, okay, at 35 yards, how much am I dropping? How much is that arrow going to drop at 35 yards? So now you shoot a group, and you're like, okay, I'm consistently 6 inches low at 35 yards. So now at 35 yards, you need to hold 6 inches over that point. So that's finding your gap. Same, sub. If you could drop down to 25 yards, now you're hitting 4 inches high. Now you're gonna have to aim 4 inches low, at that yardage. So that would be finding gaps. So you'd find your point on, and then you'd find the gaps, and either holding over or holding under at certain ranges. And that's a giant rabbit hole you can jump down, because then you can go into like face walking and string walking. So where guys are actually like, they'll have a point on for different anchor points, So like if they're shooting with 3 fingers, they've got a point on to anchor with this finger, this finger, this finger, there's guys do the same thing with the string. They'll have multiple knocking points, or multiple marks on the string to know, if they draw from there, that's where it's going to hit. But it's all, it all basically goes to the idea of gap shooting, of finding those gaps. There's just a lot of different methods to do it.
There's really no wrong way. Find what works good for you, what you're most effective and works best for you. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was one of the issues that I had last year trying to find point on and gap and stuff was I started to incorporate other variables that you can't control, like deer ducking. I'm like, all right, if I'm aiming right here, I need to aim it low because they're going to hear it. And I'm like, well, what does aiming low look like on this deer? And I remember that a week before the hunt, like, nope, I'm just going to shoot where it is. I'm just going to send an arrow and give it a try.
Yeah.
And it ended up working out. But yeah, there's just like anything in bow hunting, there's rabbit holes you can go down.
Oh yeah.
At the Hunter's Advantage, we live by the KISS slogan.
You were not supposed to tell them that.
No, I meant we like to keep it simple, stupid. All jokes aside, Exodus is the definition of keeping it simple. Let's say you aren't really sure what arrow setup you should run. The Exodus Arrow Builder will help you build the right arrows for your exact setup.
Or if you don't have time to change those trail cam batteries in the dog days of summer, Exodus has a great selection of cell cameras and regular trail cameras, and if you pair them with one of their solar panels, you'll be set for a long while. I've shot over a dozen deer and a big old black bear in Saskatchewan with these arrows, and I trust them to fly right and get the job done. And they have something for everyone with the Exodus NIS micro diameter arrows or the Exodus MMTs.
So if you want to save money on Exodus arrows, cell cameras, or anything else they got on their website, make sure to check out ExodusOutdoorGear.com and use code HA10 for 10% off.
Once again, that's ExodusOutdoorGear.com, and make sure to use code HA10 for 10% off at checkout Now let's get back to the podcast.
I want to talk about the Close But No Cigar.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we already know yours, so you're going to have to brainstorm a little bit.
Okay.
So what we do, try to at least in every episode, is we ask people what's that one encounter, whether that be a missed shot opportunity or just quite frankly a blown encounter, that still haunts you to this day. It doesn't matter the species or whatever, but what's your Close But No Cigar? And we'll start with you.
Oh, mine's definitely a black bear in Arkansas. I spent.
You already laughed.
I know the story.
I mean, I spent a lot of time. You could start baiting a month prior to the season.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were hunting is it was 100 and I think it's 125 miles one way down to Arkansas. Not a long ways, but every weekend I took bait down on this farm I had permission to hunt on. So
that's gas money right there.
yeah, I had 5 trips down there and had cameras out. Was getting a lot of bear. Well, as season come closer, as the fall season, the acorns had started to fall, and went from getting multiple pictures every day to gone a day, getting very scarce actually by the time the season had opened. But end up going down there and setting up. We went early that morning. I think I got my stand at 6 o'clock in the morning. Set all day long, never got down. At 6:30 that night, I look up. Here comes a bear. I've got camera. I'm like, I'm going to film this hunt, and it's all going to be so cool. I see him from 100 yards away. Turn my camera on, reach up, get my bow, ready. I had dropped a few donuts actually there. And this bear coming just like he's reading the script. Turned, he looked up at me. Turned and went straight to those donuts. He's like 7 steps, brought quartering away. I'm like shooting carp in a barrel,
Yeah.
Well, I pull back, shot, hear the arrow hit, and this bear just jumps out there about 10 feet and stops and's looking at me. And I'm looking, I can see my arrow stuck in the ground, the bear. Like, what just happened? It looked like I just drilled him, and never got a say. Bear finally left. Of course, I could see my arrow, and it was completely white, no blood. And watching it back on film, I look, and I just literally just cut through the hair in his armpit and just completely missed this bear close. And I know what I did. Yeah, I just shot at the bear, and that'll get you every time. Just shoot at him, and I missed at 7 steps.
He's sitting there with a donut in each hand, like, what was that?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'd be picking them back up. These are for me now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it ain't awesome, but
Yeah.
It's a good
fun to
story.
laugh at. But
Great story.
Miles, what about you?
So mine would be another elk one. So this particular year, where we initially went and camped. I mean, there just weren't elk up there, and so we rode around and we had horses out there that year, and we had gotten into some elk, and we got down into a deal, and it was about a 2-hour ride from our camp down, and you got to go through some switchbacks, so steep and everything. So I mean, it wasn't actually that far, but just the terrain and everything to get down there was pretty difficult. But we had gotten into a good group of elk down there, and so my cousin was with us that year, and so we decided, like, man, this is definitely where the elk are. This is where we need to be. So we went back up to camp and we had a base camp, if you will, at the truck and everything, in the trailer with the horses and everything. Well, we always, every year, we take stuff to be prepared to spike camp if we need to be. So we went and we got all that gear, and we had everything, in the saddlebags, and the panniers and everything, and in our packs. And I remember as soon as we left camp, started riding back down there, it started raining, and we, in the heat of everything, left every bit of rain gear we had.
Oh.
And so we just got poured on the entire ride down, all of our gear soaking wet. So we get down to where, we had marked a spot that we'd found, the night before. So we get down to that spot, and we start setting up camp and struggled to build a fire, and we ended up taking the burner on a jet boil and using that to start our fire, because everything else we had was too wet, and it had quit raining by then. We had take paracord, hang up clotheslines, and I got videos of all this, and had all our clothes hanging to dry, and we crawled in our sleeping bags, soaking wet that night. And that very next morning, because we could hear bulls all night bugling and stuff. Like, we had gotten as close as we'd wanted to be, and so that next morning, we take off and we're chasing these elk, and we get to a spot and we run into a fence, and we're like, what the heck? There shouldn't be a fence here. Every map. He was running Onyx, I was running base maps, and nothing that we had showed that there was a boundary line here, or property line, there shouldn't be a fence here, for a while. So we're like, and there wasn't any signs on it, but it was a fence, and it wasn't even that old of a fence. It was a decently maintained fence. So we were just like confused as ever. And at this time, literally 50 yards on the other side of this fence is all these elk. We're catching glimpses of them, through the dark timber and everything, and we're just looking. We're trying to figure out, man, do we cross this fence and make this play? According to GPS and everything, we're good, but we're just confused as ever. And I look up, and we're kind of in a bottom, and I look up, and I think I can see where it corners, and I'm like, I'm gonna go up to that corner and see where this fence goes, and if it drops around, if there's a way we can go get down next to these elk. And this was, 3 or 4 years ago? So it was the year after Colorado had those big fires. And so there was a lot of burnt country up there. And when I got to the top, this had all, been in that burn that year before. And so I go up, and it corners, and so I start going down. And literally next thing I know, these elk are coming out of this dark timber all into this burn zone. And so I just dropped to my knees behind this pine, and within literally 2 minutes, I get to full draw on 3 different bulls, but I never could get one to stop, and I didn't want to take a walk shot. Like, I'm drawing on this one, he won't stop. I let up, turn, here comes another one. I draw on him, and he wouldn't stop. And they're just decent bulls and a bunch of cows. How I didn't get busted while this is still a mystery. But this is just all happening to me, and so they all kind of work their way past through me, and I'm like, holy crap, like, there they go, now we're in the clear. And so I kind of start trailing them. I'm trying to figure out how can I get up and bust around these. I hear another bull bugle, and here comes another satellite bull. And so I get down on my knees, and there's a pine tree next to me, and then some one that had fallen during the fire. And so I literally got down on my knees where I can shoot right over that down pine tree, and had my rangefinder and everything set up right next to it, and I'm ranging lanes and stuff. And because I even hunting with a recurve, I always take rangefinder for my point on and gaps like that. I'm marking, okay, if he gets this tree, how far is that, and so I'm marking all that, and then I can see this bull, and he's just coming just straight at me again. It was going to be another point blank shot, and he still to this day is the only non-typical bull that I have ever seen, to where one side, it was just basically just one big main beam and a whale tail, and then the other side was all deformed and messed up and everything. He's just a really just cool looking bull, nothing like I'd ever seen before. And he was coming, and that year I was hunting with a 50-pound PSR model that we have, and I was super confident in all these shooting lanes. I'm like, this is going to be, no matter where he goes up here, it's going to be a done deal. And so he comes, and if he went to my left, it would have been a sub 10-step shot. Like, it was going to be easy. The other way, if he'd have went around the pine tree where he was coming up, it was right at 25 yards. And that particular year, I was super confident at that range. And so he goes around that pine tree, and it actually worked out better because it was so thick. Like, I could draw, and I was at my anchor. I had my point where it needed to be, where he was going to come. I'm like, this is a done deal. And so as I'm drawing, he steps out from around this pine tree, and I kind of I called at him, and boy, he stops. I turned it loose, and it was just so perfect. Arrow flight was perfect. It was going right where I needed it to be, and I hit a limb. I had got so tunnel visioned on what I was, trying to do. I never saw this limb, and I mean, this limb wasn't. It was just a twig. It wasn't no bigger than my pinky, and I hit that, and it spun my arrow around, and it went, just right under him while this arrow's spinning in the air, and he blows on out and takes on out of there. But it been one of them deals. I mean, I just could have just shifted ever so slightly if I'd have just paid attention. And that was the only little stick hanging in this entire. I mean, you could have driven a car, through this shooting alley I had. It was the only one sticking through there.
Like it's got a magnet.
It only takes one though. That's the sad thing. Yeah. No. Well, the reason we ask you guys that is because YouTube or the Hunt channel, whatever, people only show their highlight reels, right? And you guys know hunting isn't like that all the time. So people first starting to get into it or whatever, we kind of like bringing it back down to earth a little bit and kind of, messing up's okay. It sucks. Doesn't hurt any less or, you guys.
It's part of it. Yeah.
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 You guys get what I see.
Yeah. So what advice would you guys give for people that are wanting to get into this traditional game? Like it could be anything from practice to finding a bow that fits you. Like what, if someone walks in that door first day ever wanting to shoot a trad, what would you guys tell them?
Our biggest deal we emphasize is don't overbow yourself.
Yeah.
It's just starting out. You're going to struggle. I mean, you just are. If the bow's too heavy for you, you're going to develop bad habits, turning it loose before you reach your anchor, snap shooting, and it's just not going to be fun. You're not going to hit where you're, if you go out in the yard and you've got your target set up and you shoot at 10 times and miss at 5, it's going to get pretty discouraging pretty fast. But if you get a bow, a lightweight starting out that you can pull back good and comfortably, get you even if you hold it for just a split second, find your anchor and turn it loose, and you're consistently getting close to your target, it's going to be fun. You're going to want to keep doing it and not get fatigued because it's too heavy for you. So that is the main thing we really stress to people, just making the switch. Don't overbow yourself. I know you're shooting 60 pounds with this compound, but you don't want to even try that with this recurve. It won't be fun, So that's definitely the biggest thing.
Yeah, I always tell people, especially guys jumping from compound to traditional. They're like, hey, I'm gonna make the jump. I'm gonna sell my compound. I want to buy a recurve. I always tell them, don't sell your compound. Keep that. I'm like, get a bow to start off with. Again, don't overbow yourself. Get something you can learn to shoot at. But I always tell people, like, just like athletes, do, a baseball player, with his batting or anything, like, you're going to go through, slumps and stuff. I'm like, you're going to take this bow out and you're not going to be able to hit, the broadside of a barn, or you're going to miss an animal with it and you're going to be so mad and just done. And I always tell people, like, when you go through that, I'm like, man, hang it up, go get your compound back out, get your confidence back up, get back to, good shot reps and everything, go tag an animal, do what you need to do, and then come back and reassess yourself with the with the trad bow, because I'll do that too. Like when I get to shooting, if I shoot too long or something, then I'll start making bad shots. I'll just quit because I'm like, I'm just gonna drive myself into a bad habit. Trying to make sure every shot is as controlled as it can be, and like. So Rod Jenkins is big on his classes on what he calls blank bailing, and that's literally like, if you got a round bail or something, shooting at, getting, within 5 yards of it and shooting at it with your eyes closed. So you don't care where your arrows are hitting, but you're focused, on your full, your shot process, you're pulling through and everything. So I always recommend, and I still do that all the time. I need to be doing that right now. My release is getting, just one of them slumps. I'm not having a very good clean release right now, and so it's one of the things when I've been shooting, I've been really focused more on that more than where I'm trying to aim or hit or anything like that. I'm just thinking on my release, pulling through and everything. But there's a ton of good ways like that you can start with and practice, like that blank bailing and stuff. One of my favorite ways to practice is taking like a judo point or like a small game head or something and a tennis ball, and throwing that tennis ball outside and shooting at that tennis ball is one of my favorite ways to practice.
That's a good point.
That's usually a time for like a few days before October starts. Just that's when you worry about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you thought. No, I mean that's why I love bow hunting. I mean, even traditional bow hunting, even more is like it demands your best. You know, like it really does.
Yeah.
And so
you can't go all year without shooting it and then pick it up a week before season and be good with it. You know, like it is a deal. Like you gotta continue to shoot it and stay fresh and stay consistent with it.
Yeah.
To be good with it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys doing this.
Yeah.
This is really fun. Thanks for taking us to the shop and the tour, and heck, maybe we'll shoot a couple bows before we leave. But
I better not.
Yeah, for people that want to check you guys out, maybe want to get a bow, where's the best place for them to do that?
So you guys, I mean, they can call the shop at any time. We've got Facebook and Instagram and stuff. They can always more welcome to shoot us a message on that, or actually has links, to our email, which is info@blackwidowbows.com. And then our website, we'll leak it in there. We're in the process of building a new website. It's supposed to be a lot more mobile friendly and just a lot easier to navigate. So that's something we'll start pushing here when we launch it pretty soon. Okay. But that'll be another way to reach out to us.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah. We appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
We enjoyed it.